My name is Lauren Mitchell. I'm 37 years old. 3 years ago, I sat at my parents' Sunday dinner table and listened to my father tell me I was being cut out of the family will unless I apologized to my brother for disrespecting him. My crime? I'd refused to co-sign a $50,000 loan for his fifth failed business venture. My mother added, "Rob is family. You need to support family." I looked at them, at my 38-year-old brother who'd never held a job for more than 2 years and had borrowed over $200,000 from our parents that he'd never repaid. At my father, who'd paid for Rob's MBA but told me law school was too expensive for a daughter. At my mother, who'd given Rob the down payment for his house but told me I should marry well instead of buying my own. And I said two words that changed everything. Okay, done. I stood up. I left. I drove home to my condo in Washington, D.C. that I'd bought with my own money, and I went to sleep. The next morning, my parents' estate attorney called me. Not them, their lawyer, because apparently nobody had told my father that when you threaten to disinherit your estate planning attorney daughter, she might actually know more about inheritance law than you do. Before I tell you what their lawyer said, let me take you back to 1993, to the moment my parents brought my baby brother home from the hospital, and I learned what it meant to be demoted. Before I go any further, if this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to know I'm not alone in this. I was born in 1989. My brother Rob was born in 1985, 4 years before me. My sister Emma came along in 1994. We grew up in Bethesda, Maryland, in a 4-bedroom colonial with a 2-car garage and a backyard with a swing set that Rob broke when he was 12 and never got fixed. My father, Robert Mitchell Sr., owned a real estate development company. Not huge, but successful. By the time I was in high school, he was clearing 7 figures a year. My mother, Patricia, didn't work. She ran the household, planned the parties, managed the family image. From the beginning, the hierarchy was clear. Rob was the heir, the firstborn son, the one who would carry on the family name, take over the business, make Dad proud. Emma and I were the girls. We were supposed to be pretty, agreeable, and eventually marry men who would take care of us. I have a memory from when I was 6 years old. I'd won a regional spelling bee. I came home with a trophy, so excited I could barely speak. My father was in the living room with Rob, watching football. "Dad, look, I won." He glanced over. "That's great, honey. Good job." He turned back to the TV. Rob scored a winning goal in a recreational soccer game that same weekend. My parents threw a party, invited the neighbors, took 100 photos, hung his jersey in a frame in the den. My spelling bee trophy went on a shelf in my room. That was the pattern. Rob's achievements were celebrated. Mine were acknowledged. There's a difference. When Rob turned 16 in 2001, my parents bought him a car, a BMW 3 Series, brand new. Silver. He totaled it 6 months later driving drunk. No one was hurt, thank God, but the car was destroyed. My father's response, "Accidents happen. We'll get you something more practical." They bought him a Honda Accord. When I turned 16 in 2005, my mother handed me the keys to her old minivan, a 1998 Dodge Caravan with 140,000 miles and a broken air conditioner. "You're responsible. You'll take care of it." When Emma turned 16 in 2010, there was no car. She got a bus pass. College was the same story. Rob went to the University of Virginia. Out-of-state tuition, fraternity dues, apartment off campus. My parents paid for everything. 4 years of undergrad, 2 years for an MBA. Total cost, roughly $200,000. He graduated in 2007 with his bachelor's and 2010 with his MBA. They bought him a $30,000 car as a graduation gift. A brand new Audi. When I started looking at colleges in 2007, I told my father I wanted to go to Georgetown. "That's expensive, Lauren. Have you thought about state school?" You sent Rob to UVA out of state. Rob's going to run the business someday. He needs a good education. And I don't? You're smart. You'll figure it out. Maybe find a nice husband who went to Georgetown. I got a partial scholarship to Georgetown. I took out $45,000 in loans for undergrad. Then I got into Georgetown Law. Another $75,000 in loans. I worked 3 jobs through law school. I was a research assistant, a bartender on weekends, and I did contract work for a legal temp agency. I graduated in 2014 with $120,000 in debt and a job offer at a mid-sized law firm in D.C. specializing in trusts and estates. My parents came to my law school graduation. They sat in the back. They left before the reception because Rob was launching his first business, and they wanted to be there for the opening day. Emma went to University of Maryland, in-state tuition. She took loans. She became a teacher. My parents never offered her money for school, not once. Meanwhile, Rob's career was a slow-motion disaster. He graduated with his MBA in 2010 and got a job at a consulting firm. Good salary, benefits, the whole package. He quit after 18 months. I can't work for someone else, Dad. I'm an entrepreneur. Business number 1, a tech startup, some kind of app that was supposed to revolutionize professional networking. He needed $40,000 to get it off the ground. My father wrote him a check. The app never launched. The money disappeared into development costs. Business 2, real estate flipping. He was going to buy distressed properties, renovate them, and sell them for profit. He needed $60,000. My father gave it to him. Rob bought one property. The renovation went over budget. He sold it at a $15,000 loss. The $60,000 was gone. Business 3, a restaurant. He partnered with a friend from college. Farm-to-table concept, artisanal cocktails, reclaimed wood furniture. He needed $50,000 for his share of the startup costs. My father gave it to him. The restaurant lasted 11 months. It closed owing $18,000 to the landlord and $12,000 to vendors. The landlord sued. Rob lost. The judgment is still active in Maryland court records. I know because I looked it up. Business number 4, a marketing agency. He was going to help small businesses with their social media. He needed $30,000 for office space and equipment. My father gave it to him. The agency had 3 clients over 2 years. All 3 fired him. The business folded. By my count, my parents had given Rob approximately $180,000 for business ventures over 10 years. He had repaid exactly $0. Meanwhile, I paid off my $120,000 in student loans by age 29. I lived in a studio apartment, drove a used car, packed my lunch every day, and put every bonus toward the debt. In 2019, at age 30, I bought a 1-bedroom condo in Washington, D.C. for $320,000. I put down $64,000, 20%. Money I'd saved myself. In 2020, I made partner at my law firm. I was 31 years old. My salary went to $180,000 a year. My parents came to the partner celebration dinner. They stayed for an hour. My mother spent most of it asking when I was going to meet someone and settle down. In early 2020, Rob started business number 5, crypto consulting. He was going to advise people on cryptocurrency investments. Never mind that he'd never successfully run a business or made a profit on anything. He needed $50,000 to scale the operation. My parents had already given him $180,000. They were hesitant. My father called me in September 2020. Lauren, I need to ask you something. Okay, Rob needs a loan for his new business. He's asked me to co-sign, but I'm wondering if you'd be willing to do it instead. You have good credit. It would help him get better terms. I was sitting at my desk in my condo looking at my bank account, the money I'd saved, the loans I'd paid off myself, the condo I bought without anyone's help. Dad, no. No, I'm not co-signing a loan for Rob. He's your brother, and he's borrowed $180,000 from you and Mom that he's never paid back. Those were gifts, Lauren, investments in his future. Investments that lost 100% of their value. This is different. He's learned from his mistakes. This one is going to work. They're always going to work, Dad, and they never do. So you're saying no. Yes, I'm saying no. You're being selfish. I'm protecting my credit score from someone with a track record of defaulting on obligations. He hung up without saying goodbye. A week later, Rob called me. Thanks a lot, Lauren. For what? For sabotaging my business. Dad told me you refused to help. I refused to co-sign a loan. That's not sabotage. You're jealous. You've always been jealous that I have vision and you're just a lawyer. I'm a lawyer who pays her bills, Rob. You're bitter. You're bitter that Mom and Dad believe in me. They can believe in you all they want. They can give you their money. I'm not giving you mine. You're not family. You know that? You're selfish and cold and you're not family. He hung up. I didn't hear from him for a month. Then came Sunday dinner. My parents hosted Sunday dinners once a month. The whole family, Rob, me, Emma, sometimes my Uncle Frank and Aunt Carol. We'd eat pot roast or lasagna, drink wine, pretend we were a functional family. Sunday, October 17th, 2021. I drove to Bethesda after a long week at work. I was exhausted. I almost canceled, but Emma texted me, "Please come, I need a buffer." I arrived at 5 p.m. Uncle Frank and Aunt Carol were already there. Rob showed up 20 minutes late, talking loudly about his exciting new venture. We sat down for dinner. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans. My mother's standard menu. The conversation started normal. Weather. Emma's third grade class. Aunt Carol's book club. Then my father cleared his throat. "Your mother and I have been updating our estate planning." I looked up. As an estate planning attorney, my ears perked up professionally. "Did Richard help you?" Richard Donovan was their attorney. I knew him by reputation. Good lawyer, ethical, been practicing for decades. "Yes, we've made some changes to the will." My mother looked at me. There was something in her expression I couldn't read. "We wanted to talk to the family about it," she said. My stomach dropped. Rob leaned back in his chair, smirking slightly. He already knew what was coming. My father set down his fork. "Lauren, your mother and I are disappointed in your behavior toward Rob." "What behavior?" "You know what you did," Rob said. "You refused to help me when I needed family support. You asked me to co-sign a $50,000 loan. That's not help. That's assuming financial liability for someone who's defaulted on 4 previous business ventures." "That's exactly the attitude we're talking about," my father said. "Rob is your brother. And I'm your daughter. Have you ever co-signed anything for me?" "You didn't need it," my mother said. "You had scholarships." "Partial scholarships. I took $120,000 in loans. I worked 3 jobs through law school." "And you're successful now," my father said. "Rob is still building his career. He needs support." "For 10 years? With $180,000 of your money?" Rob leaned forward. "That's not fair. It's accurate. Business number 1, tech startup. Lost $40,000. Business to 2, real estate flipping. Lost $60,000. Business number 3, restaurant. Lost $50,000, and you still owe the landlord $18,000. Business 4, marketing agency, enough. My father's voice was sharp. "This is exactly the problem. You're disrespectful. You're bitter. You're tearing this family apart." Emma spoke quietly. "Dad, that's not fair, Emma. Stay out of this." Uncle Frank shifted uncomfortably. "Robert, maybe this should be a private conversation." "No, this needs to be said." My father looked at me. "Lauren, you have a choice. You can apologize to your brother and commit to being more supportive. Or you can walk away. Silence. Walk away from what? I asked. From this family, from the will, from your inheritance. I looked at him, at my mother, who was nodding in agreement, at Rob, who looked satisfied, at Emma, who looked horrified, at Uncle Frank and Aunt Carol, who looked deeply uncomfortable. Can I ask a question? What? When you say the will, you mean the one Richard drafted in 2019? Yes, the one that splits the estate 3 ways between Rob, Emma, and me? That's the one we're changing, my mother said. To what? That's not your concern anymore. I looked at Rob. He couldn't quite hide his smile. I stood up. Calmly, I folded my napkin and placed it on the table. Okay. My father blinked. Okay, what? Okay, I'm out. You can remove me from the will. My mother's face changed. Lauren, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. You gave me an ultimatum. Apologize to Rob or lose my inheritance. I'm not apologizing, so I'm choosing. I'm out. Rob leaned back, arms crossed. You're going to regret this. I doubt it. My father stood up. If you walk out that door, you're done. No inheritance. Nothing. Is that really what you want? I don't want anything from people who would use money to control me. That's not what this is. Then what is it? He didn't answer. I picked up my purse. Goodbye. I walked to the front door. Emma followed me. Lauren, wait. I turned to her in the driveway. I'm fine. You're not fine. That was insane. It was clarifying. What are you going to do? I'm going to go home. I'm going to pour a glass of wine. I'm going to watch a movie. And I'm going to remember that I've been supporting myself for 15 years and I don't need their money. Do you want me to come with you? No. Stay. Keep an eye on what they're planning. Text me later. I hugged her and got in my car. I drove back to DC in silence. No radio, no podcasts, just the sound of the road. When I got home, I did exactly what I said I'd do. I poured a glass of wine. I sat on my couch. I pulled out my phone. I Googled Robert Mitchell Sr. net worth. There were no exact numbers, but based on public records of his real estate company and the house value, I could estimate. The business was probably worth $4-6 million. The house in Bethesda was worth $1.2 million, paid off. Savings and investments, maybe another $1 to $2 million. Total estate, roughly $6-8 million. Divided 3 ways under the current will, approximately $2.6 million per child. My current net worth, $400,000. The condo had about $250,000 in equity. I had $100,000 in retirement accounts and $50,000 in savings. Losing a $2 million inheritance would sting. Financially, it was significant, but keeping it would cost me something more valuable, my dignity. I'd spent my entire life being the responsible one, the one who didn't ask for help, the one who figured it out, the one who paid her own way. And my reward was to be threatened with disinheritance unless I enabled my brother's 5th failed business venture. I finished my wine. I went to bed. I slept better than I had in months. Monday morning, I went to work. I had client meetings, contract reviews, the normal rhythm of my job. At 8:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Lauren Mitchell. Ms. Misbite. Mitchell, this is Richard Donovan. I'm your parents' estate attorney. I sat up straight. Mr. Donovan, how can I help you? I need to speak with you about a matter involving your parents' estate plan. Do you have time to meet today? Is this about them wanting to remove me from the will? There was a pause. Among other things, can you come to my office at 2 Fimian? I'll be there. Richard's office was in a brick building in downtown Bethesda. Classic estate attorney setup, dark wood furniture, leather chairs, walls lined with legal books. Richard was 62, gray hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. I knew him by reputation. He'd been practicing estate law for 35 years and had a spotless ethical record. He shook my hand. "Thank you for coming. Please sit." I sat. He sat across from me, a file folder on the desk between us. "This is delicate," he began. "I understand my parents want to change their will. They called me Sunday night. Your father was quite upset. He wants you removed as a beneficiary and the estate split between your brother and sister." Okay, he looked at me. "Ms. Mitchell Lauren, before I proceed with that, I need to ask you some questions." "All right. Are you aware of the current structure of your parents' estate plan?" "Generally, three-way split among Rob, Emma, and me. Standard revocable trust. You as executor." "Correct. Are you aware of who has power of attorney?" "I assume my father has it from my mother, and vice versa." "Partially correct. Your father has durable power of attorney for your mother, and she has it for him. But the backup PLA, the person who takes over if both parents are incapacitated, is you." I blinked. "Me?" "Yes. You're an attorney, you're local, and when we set this up in 2019, your father specifically said, 'Lauren's the responsible one.'" I didn't know what to say, and he wants to remove me from that too. He didn't mention it. I don't think he remembers it's in there. Richard leaned back in his chair. "Lauren, I'm going to be frank with you. I've been your parents' attorney for 15 years. I drafted their first will in 2006. I've watched your brother go through 5 business failures. I've watched your parents enable him financially, and I've watched you build a career and pay off 6 figures of debt without asking them for a dime. Okay, your father wants to change the will to give your brother 50% of the estate and your sister 50%. Nothing for you. That's his right." "It is. But here's my problem. Your brother has creditors. I've done some research. Multiple failed LLCs with outstanding debts. There's an active judgment against him from the restaurant landlord for $18,000. If he inherits 50% of a $7 million estate, that's $3.5 million, those creditors can file claims against it." I nodded slowly. I knew this. It was basic estate law. "Your sister," Richard continued, "is a public school teacher making $52,000 a year. If she suddenly inherits $3.5 million, she'll be overwhelmed. And forgive me for saying this, but based on family dynamics, your brother will likely pressure her to invest in his ventures." You're probably right. So I have a client who wants to make an estate plan that I believe is unwise, possibly driven by spite rather than strategy. I have an ethical obligation to draft what he wants. But I also have an obligation to advise him when his plan creates unnecessary risk. "What do you want from me?" "I want to know if you'd be willing to attend a meeting. You, your parents, your siblings, and me. We talk through this like adults. You explain the legal and financial implications. Maybe we find a better solution." I thought about it. "Mr. Donovan, with respect, my father gave me an ultimatum. Apologize to my brother or lose the inheritance. I chose to lose it. I'm not going to beg to be put back in." "I'm not asking you to beg. I'm asking you to educate." "On what?" "On what happens when you remove the only financially literate person from an estate plan." I looked at him. He looked back, steady and serious. "If I come to this meeting, I'm not apologizing. Understood. And I'm not begging. Understood. I'll explain the legal issues. That's it. That's all I'm asking. I called Emma that night. The lawyer wants me to meet with them." "Are you going to?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to just walk away and let them make their mistakes. But Richard said something that stuck with me. If Rob inherits 50%, his creditors can come after it, and you'd be managing $3.5 million with no financial experience." Emma was quiet. "I hadn't thought about that. And Rob would absolutely convince you to invest in his next business. He would, wouldn't he? Yeah. Come to the meeting. Not for them, for you. So you can walk away knowing you tried. The meeting was Thursday, October 21st at 10 a.m. Richard's conference room. Long table, windows overlooking the street. Present, Robert Sr., Patricia, Rob, Emma, me, and Richard. My father looked angry. My mother looked uncomfortable. Rob looked smug. Emma looked nervous. Richard opened. Thank you all for coming. I've asked Lauren to join us because we need to discuss the implications of the proposed changes to your estate plan. My father interrupted. There's nothing to discuss. She's out. Mr. Mitchell, I need to walk you through some realities, may I? My father waved his hand. Fine. Richard opened a folder. Currently, your estate is valued at approximately $7.2 million. Under the current plan, each of your 3 children receives $2.4 million. Under the proposed plan, Rob and Emma would each receive $3.6 million, and Lauren would receive nothing. Rob smiled slightly. Sounds fair to me. Richard looked at him. Except you have creditors from 4 failed business ventures. Those creditors can file claims against your inheritance. Rob's smile faded. That's settled. I spoke for the first time. Is it? Because Business to the restaurant, still has an outstanding judgment for $18,000 with the commercial landlord. I checked the Maryland court records yesterday. Case number 19, CV 04521, filed March 2019. Judgment entered September 2019. Still active. Rob stared at me. How do you, public records? You were sued. You lost. The judgment is still enforceable. Richard nodded. If Rob inherits $3.6 million, that creditor and potentially others can pursue collection against those funds. My father waved his hand dismissively. Then he'll pay them. I looked at him. Will he? Or will he claim the money is tied up in investments he can't liquidate? Lauren, Dad, can I walk you through something? Just financially. No emotion. Just numbers. He hesitated, then nodded. I pulled a spreadsheet from my bag. I'd made it the night before. Business number 1, tech startup. You invested $40,000. Return $0. Loss 100%. Business number 2, real estate flipping. You invested $60,000. Return $0. Loss 100%. Business number 3, restaurant. You invested $50,000. Return $0. Plus, he still owes the landlord $18,000. Total loss 136%. Business number 4, marketing agency. You invested $30,000. Return $0. Loss 100%. Total invested $180,000. Total return 0. That's a 0% success rate. Rob stood up. This is bullshit. It's math, I said calmly. Now you want to give him $3.6 million. Based on his track record, what do you think happens to that money? My father looked at the spreadsheet. He's learned from his mistakes. Has he? What's business number 5? Rob sat back down slowly. Crypto consulting. How much revenue have you generated so far? It's early stage, how much, Rob? I'm building the client base. How much money have you made? Silence. 0, I said. It's been over a year and you've made 0 revenue. Emma spoke quietly. Can I say something? Richard nodded. Of course. Emma looked at our parents. I'm a teacher. I make $52,000 a year. I've never managed more than $10,000 at once in my life. If you give me $3.6 million, I have absolutely no idea what to do with it. My mother frowned. You'd hire a financial advisor. Emma looked at Rob. And Rob would tell me I a financial advisor and I should invest in his next venture. Rob started to protest. I would never. Yes, you would. You asked me for $5,000 last year for the marketing agency. You said it was a guaranteed return. Where's my $5,000, Rob? Silence. Emma's voice was steady. You never paid me back. And I'm supposed to trust you with millions? Richard cleared his throat. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, here's what I'm seeing. You want to punish Lauren for not enabling Rob. I understand you're angry, but in doing so, you're creating a plan that exposes Rob's inheritance to creditor claims and puts Emma in a position where she'll be vulnerable to family pressure. That's not good estate planning. That's emotion overriding strategy. My father's jaw tightened. Lauren should have helped her brother. I looked at him. Helped him do what, Dad? Fail a fifth time? I love Rob, but co-signing a loan for someone who's defaulted on 4 business ventures isn't help. It's enabling, and I won't do it. My mother shook her head. You're so cold. I'm realistic, and I'm an estate planning attorney. This is what I do for a living. I help families avoid exactly this kind of disaster. My father stared at me for a long moment. Then tell me, since you're the expert, what should we do? Keep the current plan, 3-way split, or, if you truly can't stand the thought of me inheriting, set up a restricted trust for Rob's share. Don't give him a lump sum. What do you mean, restricted? A trust that pays him annual distributions tied to employment or verifiable income, protects the principal from creditors, prevents him from blowing it all in 3 years. Rob's face went red. I'm not a child. Then stop acting like one, I said. Stop asking for money you don't pay back. Stop starting businesses you don't finish. Stop blaming everyone else when they fail. My father stood up. I need to think about this. He walked out of the conference room. My mother followed him. Rob glared at me. You just can't help yourself, can you? I just explained to them how to protect you from your own creditors. You're welcome. He left. Emma looked at me. Well, that was fun. Richard waited until the room cleared, then looked at me. That took courage. I'm still out of the will. Maybe. Or maybe you planted a seed. We'll see. One more thing, Richard said. If they do proceed with removing you, and something happens to them in the next few years, you may have grounds to challenge the disinheritance, especially if you can show it was done under duress or undue influence from your brother. I won't contest it. I'm not suggesting you should. I'm just telling you your rights. I appreciate that. He walked me to the door. For what it's worth, you did the right thing today. Over the next 3 weeks, I didn't hear from my parents. Emma reported that they were fighting. My father wanted to proceed with removing me. My mother was having second thoughts. Thanksgiving came. I wasn't invited. Emma came to my condo instead. We ordered Chinese food and watched movies. In early December, Emma texted me. Rob asked them for $30,000 for marketing costs for the crypto business. Dad said no. Rob threw an actual tantrum. Dad is starting to see it. On December 15th, my phone rang. It was my father. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Hello. Lauren. It's Dad. I know. Can we talk? About what? About Sunday dinner. About the will. Okay. There was a long pause. I was angry. I said things I shouldn't have said. Okay. Richard talked to me. About the creditors. About the trust structure. About the power of attorney that I forgot was in there. Okay. You were right. I said nothing. About Rob, he continued. About the money. About enabling him. I see. We're keeping the will as it is. 3-way split. And we're setting up a restricted trust for Rob's share. Annual distributions tied to employment, like you suggested. That's good. I'm sorry I threatened you. Okay, can you come to Christmas dinner? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't think so. Not this year. Lauren, Dad, you gave me an ultimatum. Apologize to Rob or lose everything. I didn't apologize. I'm not going to pretend that didn't happen just because you changed your mind about the will. But we're fixing it. The will is your decision. Christmas is mine. I'll see you when I'm ready. I hung up. Over the next year, I saw my parents 3 or 4 times. Polite dinners. Surface level conversations. The relationship was cordial but distant. Rob's crypto business failed in 2022. Surprise. He lost $8,000 of his own money and came to my parents asking for more. For the first time ever, they said no. He got a job in sales, a real job with a W-2 and benefits. He's still there, making about $65,000 a year. It's the longest he's ever held a job. He still blames me for his failures. Some things don't change. Emma and I grew closer. We talk almost every day. She's my real family. And then, in the fall of 2022, something unexpected happened. My maternal grandmother, Margaret Whitmore, called me. "Lauren, it's Grandma." "Hi, Grandma. How are you?" "I'm fine. I heard about what happened at Sunday dinner last year." "Oh, your mother told me." "Eventually, after I asked why you weren't at Thanksgiving." "I see. Your father is a fool." I didn't know what to say. "You're the only one in that family with any sense," she continued. "I want you to know I've changed my will. Grandma, you don't have to. I'm leaving everything to you and Emma. Split evenly. Nothing to your parents. Nothing to Rob. They've done enough damage." "Grandma, I'm 78 years old, Lauren. I'm not going to live forever, and I'll be damned if I let Rob inherit a penny of my money. He blows it in 6 months." She died in February 2023, peacefully in her sleep. Her estate was worth $2 million. Emma and I each inherited $1 million. Rob tried to contest the will. He hired a lawyer and claimed undue influence. The case was dismissed in 3 months. Grandma had been sharp until the day she died, and her will was airtight. My net worth is now approximately $1.5 million. The condo is almost paid off. I'm still partner at my firm. I'm doing well. Rob is still at the sales job, still bitter, still convinced the world conspired against him. My parents' estate plan now includes a restricted trust for Rob. When they die, he'll get annual distributions of $100,000, but only if he's employed. If he quits, the distributions stop. The principal is protected from creditors. Emma and I will get our shares outright. I'm still the backup power of attorney. My father admitted, eventually, that I was right about that too. It's 2024 now. I'm 37 years old. I live in a nice condo in Washington, D.C. I have a career I'm proud of. I have a sister who's my best friend. I have financial security I'd built myself. And I have something my brother will never have: self-sufficiency. Last week, I had a client meeting, a father in his 60s, trying to figure out how to structure his estate when one of his sons keeps asking for money. "I don't know when to say no," he told me. He's my son. I smiled. "Let me tell you a story about my family." I told him about Rob, about the 5 failed businesses, about the Sunday dinner ultimatum, about walking away. "What happened?" he asked. I learned that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is refuse to enable them. And the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who try to control you with money. "And your brother?" "He got a job, a real one. For the first time in his adult life, because our parents finally said no." The client nodded slowly. "So you're saying I should set up restrictions. I'm saying you should protect your son from himself. And protect your other children from being collateral damage." He hired me to restructure his estate plan. If you're listening to this and you've ever been the responsible one in a family of people who take, I want you to know something. You don't owe them your money. You don't owe them your credit score. You don't owe them your future financial security just because they're related to you. Family is supposed to support each other, But support doesn't mean co-signing loans for people who don't pay them back. It doesn't mean sacrificing yourself on the altar of someone else's bad decisions. And if they threaten to disinherit you for refusing to enable them, let them. Because here's what I learned: inheritance is a gift, not a right. And if the price of that gift is your dignity, it's too expensive. 3 years ago, my father told me to apologize or lose everything. I said okay, and I walked away. I didn't lose everything. I kept the most important thing myself. Have you ever been threatened with disinheritance for refusing to enable a family member? Had you ever been the responsible one watching your parents fund someone else's failures while you paid your own way? Drop a comment. Tell me your story, because I know I'm not alone in this. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and check the description for another story about someone who chose dignity over money. Thank you for being here. My name is Lauren Mitchell. I'm an estate planning attorney, and I will never apologize for refusing to co-sign someone else's bad decisions.